Here we are again, and thank you very much to everybody who's joined us for this morning's session. I know I say this every time, but just to remind us that theatre is about bringing people into a room together and making something together in a room. But we can't do that. But luckily, we can do it virtually, and I'm very pleased that you've joined us all today to help with creating a bit more lovely theatrical stuff. So today's session is about playmaking, but it's going to be about a very particular part of playmaking, which is very important, which is about character development. And one of the things that people who make plays are a bit like detectives. They have to get a bit obsessed about things. So if we're making a play about a book or a story, or in this case, about a picture from a book, you have to get really, really obsessed about it and look at it in great detail. And when you make characters up, if you've got something like a stimulus of a book or a picture, you have to do the same. You have to start being like a detective and mining all the information that's already there. And then sometimes there's not enough information, so you have to make some stuff up. And that's where it starts to get exciting, because you start making up more about the character than is given already. So what I'm going to do today is we're going to start by setting up our character information sheet before we even start looking at the information we're going to look at. Now, apologies for what I'm going to show you, but I'm not a very good artist. And I know that some people who've joined us are much better at this than me. But I want you to get your first bit of paper, and I want you to draw just an outline of a person on the in the middle of the paper, not very big, because you need room around the paper to do things. So just a head and some arms and a leg. It can be a stick person, or it can look a bit like that. And then I want you to draw a heart where the heart would be on the body. Okay, and that's going to be our character development sheet. Okay, so I'm going to give you a few seconds to draw that. Okay, and then I'm hoping that that's enough time for you to do that. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a picture from the book that we're working on, which is The Red Tree by Sean Tan. And it's a picture that some of you will be familiar with because we're looking at it in every session. So I'm going to be a bit technical and share the picture on my screen. So I'm just going to share my screen with you, and I'm going to share this particular picture. And here we are. I'm hoping that you can see that picture. If you can't see it, unmute yourself and tell me, because I'm recording this, I can only see myself. But if you can see it, then that's great. Now, what I've done with this picture is I've zoomed in on the left-hand side of the picture, because we're looking at the character that is there. And what I want you to do is, on your character sheet of paper, I'd like you to look just at the body first, the body of our character. And I want you to look at the head. And I want you to look at the hands. And just write on next to the body what we can see that we know. What things can you identify about the character and their body from what you see there? Look at the hands. How big are the hands? How big's the head? What's the colour of the hair? What about the eyes and the nose? What kind of features have they got? What clues have we got here already about this character that an actor or a writer might be able to pick up on? Okay. And I've got a question for you as well, which is, in terms of the body, the physical characteristics of this character, what's missing? What don't we know yet? What's not there in the picture that we need to know more about? Okay, so now we're looking at things that maybe are a bit hidden, but where there might be clues to it in the picture. So we're going to go now to look at the heart of the character. Now, this is a bit more detective work, because is there anything in that picture that tells you at this point about what might be in the heart of that character, what they might be feeling? Now, it's quite interesting, isn't it? Because now we have to start thinking about what we remember about how we might feel about certain situations. Like, what might we feel if we're looking out of a window and we've got our hands against the window? What might we have been feeling? Why would we be looking out of the window? Is there anything about the face that tells us what that character might be feeling? Her eyes are closed, I think, or are they open? We're not sure. That's a question, isn't it? And if they're closed, why are they closed? And if they're only half open, why is she trying to cut out what she sees? Okay, so the third thing we need to think about is what's going on in the head. So just have a chat with whoever you're with, or have a chat to yourself if you're on your own, about what on earth is this character thinking? If I just scroll down, you can see that there are beautiful yellow and orange clouds. There's butterflies. There are other things around. There's a dark cloud at the back. But what might she be thinking? And this is where we have to kind of start making things up, which is the exciting bit about character work. It's like, what is that character thinking? What is she saying to herself? Just have a think about that. And if any words occur to you, pop them down near the head of the character. I'll just give you a few minutes to write that down, or if any images come to you, draw them if you like drawing rather than writing. Okay, so now we've started to build an idea of some of the things about the character, but there's not enough evidence yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you another set of images, and they are from different parts of the book, and they're images of the same character, but I'm not showing you the whole pictures. I'm just showing you the edited pictures of where the character is. So again, I'm hoping that you can all now see this image. So there should be a picture of the girl in the bed and then walking along the street. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes, brilliant. Okay. So going to the body then, are there any new clues now about the body? And in the left-hand one, is there anything that you want to note down about how she is, what she dresses like, what she looks like? And there's something very interesting for me about all the images, which is that where's her mouth? So now, why doesn't she have a mouth? And what does it do to her face? How does it make her face look? And that's a very interesting thing for me. If I was developing the character as either as an actor or as a writer or director, what do we do about that? What does it mean that she doesn't have a mouth? Okay, and then I want you to have a look at the picture to the right, which is of the character walking along the street. And I want you to have a think, because physicality, the way somebody moves, the way somebody walks, the way they hold their head, the way they hold their shoulders is really important in character development. And this picture for me gives you masses of clues, I think, as a researcher, about what this character feels like and how they see themselves by the way that they are moving. So just as an example, you know, when an actor plays a character who holds their head up high and whose shoulders are back and who looks at you, maybe even down their nose, that gives a very different impression of what kind of person they are, even before they open their mouths to say anything, than a character who takes little steps, whose shoulders are down, who looks down, doesn't make eye contact with anybody, and whose hands are just draped at the side. So just think and add anything, any comments, any notes to your body section of the character about what that picture gives you in terms of clues. And now I'm going to go down to two other images. And these, I think, probably help us to think a little bit more about what the character holds in their heart and what they're thinking. Now, the first image is a wonderful, wonderful image. And I want to ask you what you think it means that the character has a little, almost like a little doorway, and when they open it, there is a light bulb. And what that means in terms of what the character feels. What clues does that give us to how that character feels? To the hidden secrets of that character's life? Because you can imagine that that little door gets shut and other people may not see that light bulb. They may not see that little iridescent loveliness that comes out of her heart. Okay, and then I want to move over to the one next to it. And there we see the character. She's counting. What is she counting? She's counting and she's counting. And you can see with her pencil, she's counting again and again and again. And I wonder, what is she counting? And what are the thoughts in her head while she's counting? So that would be lovely for you to just document, just to write down or even draw what you think she's counting. And while she's counting, what's she thinking of? So I'm going to stop there, but I just want to say to you that if you want to have a look at those images again in more detail after the session, they'll be on our website. A link to them will be on our website and is already at the Calm and Creative show page. And at the bottom, underneath everything else, it says resources, and it will say for Amanda's session. And there are two links there to both those images, so you can spend a bit more time looking at them, because at the moment we're just a bit rushing through things, but it gives you a little bit more time to spend on that. So we've started the character development, but I think we need to do a little bit more. And in the rehearsal room, we'd normally probably do some of this, what I'm going to do with you, we'd probably do it physically. We'd actually do it and play about with it. But because we can't, I've got you, giving you an idea of something that you can do to give a bit more depth to the character. So either get another piece of paper, or if you're kind of being careful, use the other side of that piece of paper, or if you've got a book, just you can draw this. But the first thing I want you to do is to take the piece of paper and fold it in half, which I'm not doing very well. There we are, fold it in half. Okay, and then fold it again into quarter. Okay, and then open it back out again. And you'll see you've got a piece of paper with equal quarters in it, a bit like the window in the main image. If you've got a book, then just literally draw across the page, so you've got equal quarters on the page. And now what I'm going to do is to ask you to play a bit of a game, really. And the game is, if this character was something, they would be this. So in each, I've drawn this, but I'd like you to put the words in each section. So section 1 is, if this character was a colour. Now, just write colour if you want. And section 2 at the top is, if this character was a flower, what kind of flower would they be? And section at the bottom, if this character was a bird, what kind of bird would they be? And in that section, if this character was an animal, what kind of animal would they be? And the reason we do this exercise is to start making you think slightly differently about the character, to start making you think about their characteristics, the things that make them special. Okay, so we're going to just have a look at the colour for a minute, and I'm going to ask again, so if the character in the book that we've just been looking at was a colour, what colour would they be? Now, it could be that you choose that they were the colour of their hair, which is a bright red orange. But the whole point about this exercise is not to think about what they are, or not to think about the obvious things about them, but to think what colours represent. So sometimes if you think about a colour, say for instance red, a lot of people might say, oh, that person's got a fiery personality, and you think of the colour red. So somebody who's got a lot of energy, or who can get angry quite quickly, or who is quite forthright. So you might pick the colour red for them because of those characteristics. If you think about blue, now often blue is associated with colder colours, or colder feelings, or feelings when people are not so happy. You know, you talk about, oh, I feel a bit blue today. Okay, so now that is a characteristic of a character. You know, you could think, all right, that character's more blue than they are red. Or let's just look at the green. Now, green we often associate with outside, with things that grow, things that are part of the environment, somebody who loves to be outdoors, somebody who's very physical. And then grey, well, grey is always hard done by, but grey does actually describe how you feel if you're not very happy, or how you feel if you say, oh, it's a grey day outside, and it doesn't make you feel happy, does it? It doesn't make you feel like you're full of energy. So I hope that makes it sort of clear. So basically, you can decide what colour you think the character is. What if she was a colour, what colour would she be? And I'm just going to look at the flower, and then the rest of them you can have a look at yourself. So what kind of flower would this character be? So would they be a sunflower that's enormous and got a great big shiny face and lots of yellow vibrant colour, makes you think of Mediterranean and of sunshine and of sunflower seeds? Or is she a daisy that's quite small, still got a lovely colour, still quite, sort of white and red and yellow? And daisies often grow in lots of bunch, lots and lots of daisies grow together. Or another one is she a bluebell, for instance, that grows under cover of trees and only grows at very specific times of the year, but has the most beautiful scent? And it's almost like they hide away. They hide away in the woodlands so that you can only see them if you make a point of going to see them. So I hope, do you see what I mean? You can try out and test out and see which of these, which flower fits best with that character. And you can do it the same with the bird and the same with the animal. And with the bird and the animal, there's something really interesting about how, when you've chosen an animal, for instance, how they live and how they were born and what they eat and how they move about the countryside, if they live in the countryside or if they live somewhere else instead, somewhere in a different continent. So there's lots to think about there and lots of rich information, and that just helps you think a little bit more about your character. So we've got all these lovely games that we can play, and there is one last thing that I'm going to ask you to do just before we finish. And again, all these things are there to help you deepen your understanding of the character. And what happens is that you start creating your own character, and your character will be very different to the one that somebody else will create. But there's no right or wrong. It's all your truth about your character. Now, one of the most important things that we have to start thinking about in terms of character, once we've looked at their physicality, we've looked a bit at sort of what kind of characteristics they have. The next most important thing for playmaking is what that character thinks and what that character says. So the final thing I'm going to ask you to just have a go at, and I'm not going to ask you to do it now, but I'm going to suggest that you do this as an exercise when we've finished, is again, I do apologise for my drawing, and it's going to be round the wrong way because of the mirror effect on here. But the first thing is to take a piece of paper and draw the outline of the character. And I think she's got quite a definite outline, hasn't she? Her hair gives her a definite outline. So just the head and the shoulders. And what I want you to then try and do is above her to draw 3 large thought bubbles. Okay. So 1, 2, 3. And in each thought bubble to write, I wish, I hope, and I dream. And don't rush this. You can write as many times, you can have as many thought bubbles as you want. I'm not just saying you have to stick to one for each of those. But just to have a think about what in the head of the character, what her hopes and wishes and dreams are. And as I said, you can do as many as you want, but what's really interesting is that when you start doing this exercise, I hope, so for instance, she might be saying, looking out the window, she might be saying, I hope everybody is all right out there. Or she might be saying, I hope that sometime I might be able to go out there. That you start to understand for yourself what that character is really feeling and what they really think. And it's a lovely exercise. So it's, I hope, I wish, I dream. And what are the dreams of the character? Because, well, dreams are really, really important because they help us understand what a character thinks and feels. So I think that's it for today. We've got to wrap up, unfortunately. I think I could carry on going on and on and on, but I think you probably all need to go and get a cup of tea or a drink and some biscuits. But I think that next time we do the playmaking session, we'll do a bit more about character and we'll talk a little bit more in detail. But before we do that, if you've got anything that comes out of this session, any drawings or any writing or any hopes and wishes and dreams from the character, or any of the characteristics from the, you know, what kind of bird, what kind of colour, what kind of animal. If you've got anything that you can share with us, we'd love to see it. So if you take a photo of what you've done, and you can email it to calmandcreative@redearththeatre.com. I'll say that again, calmandcreative@redearththeatre.com. Now, next week, we've got we're calling it our tech week next week, because not only have you got a session with Alex, who is our lighting designer, but you're also going to have a session with Drew, who's our sound designer, and they're going to look at what you can do with lighting at home and what you can do to create soundscapes at home, and all again focused around our character and our book. So I hope that you'll be able to join us next week, and look out on our Facebook for any other information that there is about what's going on. And I just want to tell you, it's a bit of a secret, but you can know it, that we are going to be doing next Thursday evening at 6:30. We've joined up with a local signing choir called Affinity Signing Choir. And we're going to do an hour's sign song session with, and you don't have to be a good sign songer. You don't ever have to have done it before, because they'll teach you some of the songs and you'll be able to follow the signing as they do it. And it's going to be very, very exciting, and it's all part of Deaf Awareness Week. And we're hoping that we're going to get quite a few people joining in. We'd like, in the end, to have a mass sign song choir with lots and lots of people all signing together. So that's next Thursday, the 7th of May at 6:30. But we'll be sending information about that as well. And there'll be practice videos on our YouTube channel, so you can practice the sign songs before you come. In fact, they're already up there, so you can go and have a look at them if you want. So all I have to do then now is to say, go well and stay safe. And thank you very much for joining us for the session. Take care, everybody. Give a wave.